you start to pick up a methodology for how you investigate, but with enough time and with enough experience, you start finding yourself doing the same investigative steps over and over and over again.
The common thing that I see, all these breaches happen not because there's no alert. It's mainly because the alert is people don't have time to look at it, or people don't have time to do a good enough investigation.
Can the AI investigate these alerts as well with the same level or higher quality of our human analysts? And just compare it, like apples to apples. How well are we doing?
Can the person really explain what's behind the technology and to show that quality and consistency in a real environment when they deploy?
I think in cybersecurity, we're in an industry where when we're cut deep. When the stress is high, the stress is absolutely high. The tough part about being a defender is that a threat actor only has to get it right once.
Yeah.
But as a defender, you need to get it right every single time.
Yes.
And we need as much help as we can possibly get. So we had industry-leading MTTR with our human analysts at low 20 minutes. For some of the use cases that we were testing with Culminate, we were able to wrap up some of our investigations in the low tens of minutes, which is astronomical. All right, we're in a driverless car in San Francisco right now. This is crazy.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So KL, there's a lot of hype about AI, especially in security. And, both of us has been a practitioner adopting AI pretty early in security. And we think there's no better place to talk about this topic in a self-driving car to see that AI's technology today is actually able to transport people and safeguard humans' life.
I mean, I live in San Francisco, but still, even being in a Waymo's like a surreal experience. I see them all the time, but like having the opportunity to do an interview while in a Waymo in a driverless car, it's definitely proof of the technology. It's proof of the innovation, and I'm excited for where technology will take us, especially like in the cybersecurity space. So this is pretty cool.
So very cool. I think for folks to understand a bit more about us, I'm the CEO of Culminate. We build AI SOC analysts. And how about yourself, Kale?
So I'm CEO of Astro Information Security. We really focus on managed extended detection response within Microsoft because we are Microsoft security partners. We also focus on penetration testing and helping organizations either become more secure or compliant.
That's awesome. So one of the things that people think about today is, can you talk a little bit about when you're running, you have been a very experienced SOC operator, including your team. You guys come from NASA, you guys come from NSA. What do you guys see as challenging when you run an MDR service today?
So I think there are quite a few challenges with a human-led SOC. Number one, it's mainly the man hours that are required to conduct the investigation of all these incidents. Outside of that, there's a lot of mundane processes when it comes to investigation. I'll get into this in a bit. But as a SOC analyst, it's a very interesting role. When you're first starting your investigative prowess and you're building the framework of how you investigate, it can be very exciting and you're trying and pulling together a lot of information from so many disparate places. But after a while, you start to come up with a framework for how you investigate. And it could be sort of like a checklist. And after you do this checklist hundreds, thousands of times, like my team has already investigated over 100,000 security investigations. You build out a workflow of how you investigate and it becomes repetitive. So one thing that we're looking at these days is how can we improve the operational efficiency of the SOC analysts? Because a lot of their day-to-day is investigating many of the same mundane incidents over and over and over again, often which end up becoming false positives. But someone needs to check those false positives and make sure they're not true positives.
That's true. That's also, one of the things that, people join the SOC, they want to be a hero. We want to give them that moment to become a hero, not just doing the mundane work. So with that said, a lot of people in the SOC operation today are looking to AI technology. Why do you think this is the right time to do that?
I think there are a few reasons. One, the threat actors are using AI. So if the threats are using AI, then as good custodians of cybersecurity on the defensive side, we also have to learn how to augment our own workflows with AI. The reason why AI is dangerous is for a few reasons. One of the most common reported, or one of the most common tickets or cybersecurity investigations that you'll conduct as an analyst are phishing investigations. And one of the dead giveaways in understanding when you're triaging through a phishing investigation is, are there any misspelled letters? Like, are you trying to generate too much urgency? And with AI, these emails that are coming in are actually better punctuated than natural human language. So if these phishing emails, which are always going to be there, if they're indistinguishable from what people would normally send, even if English isn't their own native language, then that presents a huge risk for us as defenders. So AI has made phishing emails indistinguishable. Two, it's really democratized access to exploit development, and that's a really scary thing. I had one of my interns come up to me a couple weeks after he started, and he was like, "Hey boss, I just cooked up some exploit code." And I'm like, "There's no way you did that." And I look at it, and it's Python. And this Python is absolutely malicious. Mind you, this is a 20-year-old kid. Or young man, young professional.
Yes.
And he is generating workable exploit code.
Yes.
Like these malware reverse engineer roles, like they take 3, 5, 6, 7 years to get into and actually understand what they're doing. There's so many frameworks and fundamental information that you need to understand before you even get to a place where you're writing exploit code. And here comes this young, curious guy. He's prompting ChatGPT, and he is saying, hey, take on the persona of a security engineer. Evaluate this code. What vulnerabilities can be interpreted from this? How would you exploit this? And the creativity there was astounding. But after I picked up my jaw from the floor, I realized this is what our clients are up against on a day-to-day basis. There are script kiddies out there who are writing up exploit code, who have no business doing it, and they're going to get through and break into these organizations. So there are multiple reasons why we feel AI is the absolute right time to do it. But mainly, like, I know what it feels like to be a security practitioner who is speaking to a hospital executive whose hospital is just decimated by ransomware. And the greater the gap is between when exploit developments when exploit development is created and when actual fixes for that are actually implemented, then that just breeds more opportunity for dwell time, and it increases the probability of ransomware to take place. So ransomware it's what we want to prevent. If you have never spoken to someone whose organization has been hit by ransomware, it is a harrowing experience that you'll never forget. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to stop.
Exactly. So I know you guys also actually look into this AI technology for your operation as well. And how are you guys selecting what to evaluate, and how many vendors did you pick? Can you go through that thinking process?
Yeah, so we evaluated, I believe, half a dozen or so vendors, and there were a few things that immediately stuck out to us. So one, what is the background of the founding team? Do you have experience as practitioners? Do you know what it feels like to actually investigate incidents? Does it smell like there's a snake oil salesman in here? And these are things that we're constantly evaluating for. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of snake oil. So we're evaluating the founding team. Do you know what it feels like to actually sit in our shoes? We also checked out your background. Have you worked on products that we know for a fact worked? And I was an enterprise security architect at Cisco. I knew that you were a product manager for one of the greatest products they had in the security portfolio, which was at the time Secure Workload, I think now renamed to Hypershield. So if I understood that you had this background, and not just you, but your co-founder, Diane, then there's a level of credibility that is extended there. So that is huge, the background of the founding team. Two, we wanted to know, like, are you responsive? Are you someone who's actually going to partner with us and implement the feedback that we provided? Like, we have learned a lot by investigating 100,000 security incidents before. And ultimately, we just want to protect people, whether it was protecting the NASA agency or now the dozens of clients or the hundreds of seats that I'm protecting globally. We want to make sure that we're doing a better job as defenders. So we knew that this would be an instrumental partnership, and we wanted to be as selective and as intentional in this process as we possibly could be. So the responsiveness of the founding team, when we gave feedback to multiple vendors, we were actually timing. How long did it take for you to get back to us? Are you someone who's going to be responsive? Because when you're in the heat of an incident, it could be the difference between full-scale ransomware and a resolved incident if you respond within minutes. But if you're not replying to me for days, that's an issue. So absolutely responsiveness, the quality of the founding team, but also when it comes to tools, if we got to a certain point in the POC process where we understood that the efficacy was high enough, it improved efficiency, and the quality of the investigations by the AI SOC analysts was either at the level or better than our human analysts, then it became a no-brainer for us. So those were a few of the selection criteria that we evaluated you all against.
That's really great to hear because, SOC teams from you guys are actually among the top, in rank in terms of operating efficiency. And even for top-notch teams like this, if, the technology can help you guys save even half of the operational costs, that's huge. Not to mention the other type of teams.
Yeah, no, it's the operational gains are huge. One thing that I want to talk about that I feel like isn't talked about enough, and I know it's very unsexy to talk about, but it is documentation. Like the importance of documentation, especially in a security operations center where analysts come on shift and they investigate for 8 to 10 hours, and they have to hand over how their investigations went to the next shift, and they need to report that to leadership. If you don't have standardized playbooks of investigations and how you're documenting the IOCs and the completed investigations and the remediations that you'd actually implemented, like if that isn't standardized, then you lose so much from an operational efficiency perspective. Like I know what it feels like to be the analyst who comes on shift and asks the prior shift, like, all right, guys, tell me what happened. And if there isn't proper documentation, not only is that infuriating for me, but that makes me feel like there's an actual security gap and that our risk profile is actually dropping. Like the perspective that I have of threats actually being more pervasive with poor documentation is something that is not something that should be accepted at all. So there are operational gains for having a high level of documentation. And one thing that's beautiful about these AI SOC analysts is that they're not going to complain that you didn't check this one OSINT source. They're going to check all of them. They're going to do it without complaining, and they're going to do it consistently at a higher degree than a human would, even if they have a checklist. So that's something that I absolutely want to call out.
Absolutely. We always, the joke with our, customers that, let's burn the AI, don't burn the human. Can you double click a little bit on, since you guys are pioneer in this, like when you guys are evaluating the efficacy, like what specific goes into consideration? Because there's the false positive, many times these technology get deployed, there's no attack. How do you know if the technology is able to actually catch the attack that you're thinking that it's able to, escalate to the human?
Yeah, so immediately we ran some internal pen tests. If you cannot detect and respond to internal pen testing with frameworks like Atomic Red, which hashes are all publicly available and ingested within your threat intel platform, then we have a problem. And Culminate caught 100% of all the internal pen testing that we had done. Mind you, we have an incredible team that has performed well over 1,000 penetration tests. Like I mentioned before, our penetration testing team is headed by a former NSA Red Team operator, and I can tell you for a fact he's got quite a few skills up his belt.
Oh, absolutely.
So to be able to detect all of that, like that's important. At a bare minimum, you should be able to detect that. Afterwards, we actually tested a subset of the alerts that we have firing in our client's base on a day-to-day basis. So it wasn't testing all of the alerts that were fired, but it was testing against some of the most popular alerts that we were seeing. And what we were seeing was staggering gains in terms of efficiency. Our MTTR is already industry leading at low 20 minutes. And with the AI SOC analysts augmenting some of our workflows or even completing some of these investigations, we were actually able to reduce our MTTR basically in half, which is insane. And as defenders, we are looking for every advantage we can possibly get, because attackers, they only need to get it right once, but we need to get it right all the time.
What about in terms of like consistency? Think about, let's say you got 100 alerts, mix of false positive and attack. What did you observe in terms of consistency in your experiment?
In terms of consistency?
It's like percentage of, okay, how many are classified as correctly?
efficacy and efficiency, as well as documentation, like these are all so important. Like they're absolutely critical. What we had seen from the multiple vendors that we had partnered with is we were seeing somewhere between 20 to as high as maybe like 50-55% efficacy in terms of the accuracy of the investigation. And you cannot tolerate 50% accuracy when it comes to a security investigation. Like that is intolerable. If I had an analyst who came up to me and I found out half of his alerts were investigated wrong, he would not be an analyst with Astro for very long.
Yes.
And what we had seen with Culminate was head and shoulders above anything else that we'd evaluated. So I think by the numbers, the efficacy that we were seeing was coming in around 90% for the subset of alerts that we were testing, which is staggering, almost double as good as the next vendor that we'd evaluated in the POC process.
And just to double click, just one more thing there. So when you say 90% consistency, that is it mostly about false positive? What about the attack in terms of consistency from the attack testing that you guys done?
Yeah. Okay, so immediately what sticks out to me is there's operational gains here. So if we're cutting our MTTR in half, our mean time to resolve or mean time to repair in half, then that means that best case scenario, our SOC analysts are able to double their output of security investigations, which is amazing. Like we want that, and we want as much of that as we can possibly get, because that improves our ability to protect our customers and our clients. And ultimately that's what we do this for. So there's operational gains here. Another underrated gain that I'm screaming from the mountaintops, and I'm a big dork when it comes to this, it's documentation, standard operating procedures. I know it's unsexy, but it's so critical to have really awesome standard operating procedures, as well as an investigation framework that is constantly repeatable. Because if you've got 10 SOC analysts in your SOC, and all 10 use a different incident response framework, and they're checking different tools, you've got a problem in terms of ticket quality and investigation standardization. That's an issue, because with a SOC, you want to standardize as much of the investigation process as you possibly can. So the other thing is that no SOC analyst is perfect. I wasn't perfect when I was a SOC analyst at NASA. I was far from it, but I did my best to learn. And I'm not going to lie, there were days where I just wasn't my best, or I was sick, or maybe I forgot to use and cross-reference against another OSINT tool. An AI SOC analyst doesn't get sick. It doesn't forget. It has the checkbox and it goes through it thoroughly. And the best part, it doesn't complain.
It never complains.
It never complains. And our jobs are tough. As defenders, we need as much help as we can possibly get. So those are some of the gains that we saw from a business standpoint.
Absolutely. Because people are essentially depending their work on these AI technologies. We give a lot of thought into how we build this and how we ensure the quality of the investigation is top notch and is consistent as well.
We see that. we absolutely see that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why we always tell people, everybody can show some kind of demos.
Yeah.
But the question is, can the person really explain what's behind the technology and to show that quality and consistency in a real environment when they deploy it?
Yeah. The truth is as we were going through the AI SOC analyst vendor evaluation process, we saw more snake oil than we felt comfortable with. And the last people that you want to bullshit are cybersecurity people. It's our job to smell the thing that people aren't picking up. Yeah, and for some vendors to come at us, my team has already conducted over 100,000 security investigations.
Wow.
So if you're going to tell me that you can help us out with some of those workflows, believe me, we want you to help us with that. But if you're going to come to us selling snake oil and we sniff that out, it's immediate disqualification. And honestly, I lose respect for some of the folks that are leading those organizations.
100%. I appreciate and also appreciate how thoughtful you give into this and to really present the technology that works for your customer as well. Okay, with that said, when you see the technical outcome from POCing these technologies, what are the business outcomes that you see that help the business that you operate?
So immediately, I think I mentioned this before, but from a business perspective, we want to see the operational gains, right? Like we want to see analysts be able to improve their investigation output. With the AI SOC analyst, we're not allowing that to run with full autonomy. Like I think any real security professional who is worth their salt is not going to allow AI to completely replace a human security professional because there's just too much risk there. There are too many unknowns. So the AI needs to be run with supervision. But eventually we want to take a crawl, walk, run approach where if it's run with supervision and then we give it more subsets of data that they have a little bit more autonomy over. And then eventually we get it to a place where it can handle the most mundane, repetitive tasks that we know are like the lowest fidelity. So the operational gains are there. If I can get my SOC analyst to do 2 or 3x the amount of investigations, that's going to mean that our clients who trust us with their security and their compliance are better protected. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do here in cybersecurity. We're trying to help you remain compliant. We're trying to improve your security posture, and we're trying to secure you at a pace that is much faster than the threat actors can go and intrude upon and potentially ransom your environment. So that's the goal. And I truly believe that AI SOC analysts and agentic AI within cybersecurity is going to make meaningful impact in improving people's cybersecurity posture.
Exactly. We also truly believe in that as well.
So there's something that I want to double click on here. And it's that when we were going through the evaluation process of AI SOC analyst vendors, not only did we look at the evaluation team, not only did we look at the founding team, but we also looked at like, how quick are you to respond? How quick are you to implement the feedback that we are providing for you? And there were some teams that were resistant to even hearing our feedback. It was very much like, no, I think I know what we're doing. And in my head, I want to respect what people are doing in terms of building their products. But has your team completed over 100,000 security investigations? Like, do you have that insight? Do you know what SOC analysts actually need to communicate to their senior leadership that their organization is safe? And when they're not willing to receive our feedback and not willing to implement it, I know that that is going to be a dangerous organization to partner with. And that is a risk that I'm not going to take with my reputation. So speed of response, speed of implementation. And I think the collaborative nature of the vendor that we really wanted to partner with, like this is going to be a long-term, multi-year, potentially lifetime partnership that we're working on. I'm going to be very selective with who we decide to partner with. So we need the reputation, we need the speed of response, we need the technical background, and we need someone who we believe is actually going to build something that is going to protect people and make actionable difference in the security posture of organizations globally. Because there aren't enough people in cybersecurity who knows what it feels like to speak to an executive at a hospital whose hospital was just decimated by ransomware. There aren't enough people. So when people in cybersecurity don't have that insight of just how horrible a cybersecurity breach can be, they don't take cybersecurity as seriously as it should be taken. It's literally the difference between life or death in a lot of situations. And if more people understood that, they would make better informed decisions about how they would lead their security programs.
100%. And, we're really humbled to, going through the process with you guys and be recognized with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot. I think in cybersecurity, we're in an industry where when we're cut deep. When the stress is high, the stress is absolutely high. To be working through a holiday or a Friday evening when your family is waiting for you and you are investigating incidents, like it takes a special kind of person, I think, to survive working in a SOC or in IR. But ultimately, like you and I, we do this because we love this and we understand the impact of the work that we're doing. And I want to continue working and building with people that understand the true power and benefit that cybersecurity has, not just in helping organizations maintain compliance and checking that box, but actually securing people's privacy and their data and potentially saving some lives. And I believe we're going to do that together.
Absolutely. 100%. That's also our mission for the company. When we started, we want to build the best AI workforce for security teams, starting from a SOC. From my personal experience, I built 3 different security products in my whole entire career. I built EDR, I built XDR, I built CNAP.
Yeah.
And through this journey, I've been investigating incidents for our customers during Christmas,
Mm.
and I've in government organizations that they got breached, and I've also seen firsthand how much stress and also financial and public impact that the security breach caused because people don't have time to look at those alerts. Because they don't have time to do a comprehensive enough investigation of those alerts. And that's what we really think, spend a lot of time to think through to build our product to really help the customer to solve the real problem.
Yeah. Alert fatigue is so real. It absolutely is. But that's when a breach gets through. Like when you've seen the same false positive 99 times, you're just going to check out and say, yeah, that 100th time, it's just going to be the same false positive. But that's when they get you. That is when they get you.
Yes.
Like the tough part about being a defender is that a threat actor only has to get it right once.
Yeah.
But as a defender, you need to get it right every single time.
Yes.
And we need as much help as we can possibly get. So for you, Rex, I'm curious to hear, why did you decide to build Culminate right now?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I built 3 different security company product in my career. And I started building EDR, and then I built XDR, then I built CNAP. And through that journey, the product has reached thousands of enterprise customers. I've seen a lot of different breaches in ransomware, as you mentioned earlier. I've seen nation-state attacks in our customer environment. I've seen also cloud incident. Like the common thing that I see today is that all these breaches happen not because there's no alert. It's mainly because the alert is, people don't have time to look at it, or people don't have time to do a good enough investigation on it. A lot of these attacks, sadly speaking, 95 to 99% of the alert in enterprise environment are medium low, and people just don't have time to look at those alerts. And they are taking the risk that attacker can slip through those alerts that they are not looking at. When we think about this problem exists in the industry, and when we see how AI technology is today, so my co-founder's background is AI, and she does AI for her entire career. And before we started the company, she was a director at Zscaler for AI team, and she used to work with FBI to take down the Qualbot botnet. So we see the technology today is there to actually automate the tier 1 and even tier 2 SOC investigation to a degree that is, like in your evaluation result, very high efficacy, very high quality, and consistently be able to catch attacks.
So I'm kind of curious to hear, with your experience building EDR, how did that inform how you decided you wanted to build Culminate?
Okay, so that's a great perspective because all the 3 products that I used to build in the past, I sit on the other side of the fence, which is the product that's generating the alert. So what I have seen, I think there are 2 aspects of it. Number 1 is when we're building detection tools, the detection tool need to be able to detect the threat that customer care about and the threat that, that we need to detect. But many times at detection point, you don't see all the different signals, and you have to make a decision really quickly. So that will end up into inevitably generating false positives, because otherwise it will be ending up not detecting attacks. So all the detection products are actually being positioned, in an angle where they have to detect a lot of different things. But then either they don't have enough signal to make a decision at that point, or they don't have the human knowledge, which is another big component. They don't know how the business operate to actually rule out those noise.
Yeah.
The other angle I would say is, after building EDR, right? And then I went on to build XDR. When I build the XDR, I think it's trying to solve the same dream that cybersecurity have. If I have all the data, I should be able to detect, as much threat as possible. But then I realized that when people are building XDR, it still didn't have this human thinking element behind it. It still turned into actual rules or anomaly detections. But what human is actually, when they're investigating security alerts, there's this whole human thinking process that has gone through. Incorporate both security knowledge, institutional knowledge, and maybe business context as well to make a holistic decision to eventually come up with an accurate decision, whether the alert is something that they need to worry about or not.
I think it's really important for cybersecurity professionals to have as diverse of a background as possible, not only within cybersecurity, but also outside of cybersecurity. Like, I was a restaurant manager about a decade ago, and my experiences helping, hundreds, if not thousands of hungry, starving people on a daily basis informed how much, or like how difficult it can be when someone is stressed and they need something right away, and you need to get them something, and you need to do it at a high degree, otherwise they are going to be pissed and you might ruin someone's day. Like, I think that level of urgency and understanding how to operate under fire, like, that has informed how my entire career has gone. And it's made me a better security professional. It's made me a better leader. That's absolutely for sure. Technical difficulty. Our car is driving at 18 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. Maybe it's nervous about this turn here.
So what do you see as the human's role as you guys are adopting this kind of AI technology?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd like to say is that any security professional who is worth their salt is not going to completely replace a security engineer or SOC analyst with an AI tool. If you're doing that right away, you are a risk to your organization. But if you want to do this the intelligent way, you've got to crawl, then you've got to walk, then you've got to run. Like, right now, we are testing a certain subset of the alerts that we commonly see on a day-to-day basis, that our SOC analysts see. So you want to test it against a subset, and ideally it helps you a lot with the alerts that come in that are repetitive, that are typically false positives. After that, you want to gradually allow it more and more autonomy and get it to a place where eventually, after it's crawled and then it's walked, and when it's finally running, you've got SOC analysts who aren't handling so much of the boring, repetitive, investigative work at the ground floor. Where I see the SOC heading is we will have Swiss Army knife SOC analysts who are managing multiple AI tools that will help sift through and sort through mountains of data way faster than any human could ever have the attention span for. So that's really the future of the SOC that I envision, and it's a much better vision of the SOC than the one that I worked in.
Absolutely agree with you, because what we see is, from other customer environment who adopt this, the team's morale will get better, the team's retention will get better as well, and people are more excited about doing the SOC work. They want to be the hero. We need to enable them to actually be the hero that protect the organization.
So my question is, there are some people who interpret AI as scary. The fact of the matter is that you and I have seen that AI can make measurable improvements in the way that organizations are being secured, not just a year from now or a decade from now, but from today. We can meaningfully improve our MTTR. So besides the statistics, besides the math, besides the proof, like, how are you convincing people that now is the right time to be using AI SOC analysts?
That's a fantastic question. First of all, I think the problem has existed in the industry for at least more than 10 years. Everybody knows the problem that we just discussed. The question is, why do we think the technology today is ready, right? And the way we think about this is, first we have to see the outcome, what outcome the technology is able to achieve today. And we're the only company in the space that we publicly compete in DEF CON SOC competition, right? We publicly show that AI plus human SOC team can 12 times the output of a human-only team, right? That's just hard technical achievement. The second part is, we have gone through rigorous evaluations, from your side. We have other customers such as GoTo that we operate as their Tier-1 SOC today, and we're able to scale truly to an enterprise scale to handle the amount of alert, the complexity of the investigation. That's the outcome of the technology. The other part that we usually discuss with the prospect customer is,
we have to think about how to build this from the ground up. That is very different. It cannot be a language model-based approach or purely language model-based approach. Because if I make analogy with you, KL, let's say we're sitting in the Waymo, right? Now, let's say you stick in a language model, ChatGPT or anything, behind a Toyota car. It's not going to self-drive, right? It is going to crash. We know that. It's subject to hallucination, subject to many, many issues. Now, if we believe that's true, then why should people believe in these companies that only rely on language model? Because essentially, security investigation is also a very complex workflow, just like self-driving. So when we build our technology, one of the core things that we think about is, in the whole investigation flow, how can we break it down into different components? And what is the right technology to be able to automate these components? I'll give you an example. One of the core model that we think about is, how do we do planning and reasoning in security investigation? And in order to achieve that, we actually build specialized model that is able to achieve that in a very consistent way. To make analogy how the technology work is, we basically build the model to mimic how humans think. What a very experienced investigator think is basically they have a knowledge graph in their head, and we're able to let the model to learn that knowledge graph and be able to update that knowledge graph as well in different customer environment. And our customer will also be able to give their input, their knowledge to our platform, and able to update that knowledge graph at the same time.
So I am curious, Rex. There aren't many people in the world that get to sit in the back of a driverless Waymo and get to speak to the CEO of someone who is building the future of cybersecurity. So I figure for the people, I would ask you a few questions that I would ask if I were watching this video. One, how are you seeing AI augment how security operations are done over the course of the next 3 to 5 years?
Today we start with, I see a lot of effort start from automating the security investigation, which is today the most tedious workflow for the SOC team.
That's a fact.
Yes, and it's going to reach to a certain level that is able to automate tier 1 and even tier 2 investigation in the next few years. At the same time, other type of workflow in the SOC, there's threat hunting, there is detection engineering. Those workflow will also start to be automated by AI. With that said, I think the human will just have more tools to operate in terms of human and the AI teaming together to do better investigation, to do better detection, and to do better threat hunting. And basically, we should envision that the future of the SOC are these SOC analysts that is able to command an army of AI SOC analysts to actually perform 10 times more than what they can do today, if not 100 times.
I would love to see that future for multiple reasons. One, I know what it feels like to be that SOC analyst who's doing the same mundane investigation over and over again. And burnout and alert fatigue is absolutely real. So if AI is what's going to help SOC analysts actually enjoy their job a little bit more, so that way they can work on the higher fidelity alerts and the true investigations, I think there will be a huge net positive just solely from a SOC analyst perspective. There are also, in its best case, this is going to be something that saves lives. I truly believe that. I think that this is going to be something that prevents a breach that could possibly cause another colonial pipeline, where unfortunately massive sections of a country won't have access to public utility. I think this is going to be something that makes the impact where a hospital won't have to call for instant response because that hospital didn't get hit by ransomware. People's lives won't be jeopardized because security leaders decided to use technology to its fullest potential, and they did it because they were brave enough to do what was necessary to protect their organizations, to protect their customers, and to protect their own people's data. So I'm excited for this future that we have ahead of us. It looks like, you are working on something that is innovative and is bleeding edge technology. And I'm excited to see where you and the amazing Culminate team go.
Let's go and save life together.
I love that. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in to KO's Launchpad, where cybersecurity meets opportunity. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others on their cybersecurity journey. Stay curious and keep charting your course to success. Until next time.